Welcome everyone to our second webinar. We're very excited to have everybody here at the webinar on the ultimate connection with God, mastering meditation and intuition, and how that plays a big part in our Avodat Hashem. Now, in this part, we're going to discuss something crucial. And if you remember anything from this series, but just this part two, how to master meditation, then you're doing well. Because this is probably the most important thing we'll be saying the entire course. And this is about how the mind can be either a creative tool or a very destructive tool. And why that's so important? Because if a person cannot have control over his thoughts, then everything we're going to teach later on has no meaning whatsoever. Because the entire success of getting and receiving a mystical experience and transmuting from one dimension to another dimension, and everything you've read about any mystical or phenomena that's happened to people has had to happen firstly, not exclusively, but firstly through the mind. If a person does not have a control over his mind, then spiritual pursuit is useless. It's only through a quietude of the mind and a control over the thoughts that someone can be successful to breach from his immediate reality and then converse into a new reality. And that is the whole purpose of prayer. Prayer isn't just of asking, I want, please save me, but rather it's a form of ritual to connect. It's a connecting device to connect us to our Creator. But a lot of people have lost the reason why we pray, or have never understood it, because our understanding of prayer is still at the level of nursery, kindergarten. That we think it's just us praying to our Creator. But praying is much more than that. Anybody who's ever dealt in Kabbalah will understand that it's transformative. Prayer should be transformative. It is a procreation with the Creator. If that makes any sense to anyone. It's a tool by which we are given a power to create our reality. Now we'll explain what that means. That's very cryptic, but take my word for it right now. That it's not just a simple kindergarten, 1, 2, 3, I pray and I want and I get, and if I don't get answered, then I don't get answered. It's much more sophisticated. Prayer is much more sophisticated and much more deep than what people actually think it is. So what we're trying to establish over here in this webinar series is a system of connectivity to the spiritual world, to the Creator. And that way deepening our Avodat Hashem and connection to Hashem. And giving us obviously more meaning and more substance and more control over our lives. So the first thing we're going to discuss over here is obviously the mind. So the mind is going to be crucial in accessing this power of meditation. Once you're in the power of meditation, you will be able to access the spiritual world. And once you're in the realm of the spiritual world, then that's where all the fun starts. All right, all the creativity and all the phenomena starts. So let's begin with the first slide. The mind is not what we think it is, but rather seems to have a mind of its own beyond the will of the thinker. Now, everything that we'll be saying over here is a little bit radical at the first time you ever heard of it. Those who've already heard of this concept of you are not your mind, you can probably skip forward, but it's just worth hearing all this information again. But if you haven't heard, you might think this is very, very strange. But please pay attention carefully to what we're saying. This is not something that I've made up. not anything that I've thought about. This concept's been around for thousands and thousands of years. Um, and let's just go through this understanding of what the thought process and what the mind, what the thoughts are. But one thing you have to know, that you are not your thoughts. Anyone who has ever tried to concentrate on a subject only to have his mind drift to other thoughts is aware of this. Can you stop your mind from drifting into la la land? And that's going to be crucial over here to understand that you, most of your life, and most of the people on this earth have no control over their thoughts. Sometimes it seems that the more one tries to control one's thoughts, the more they refuse to be controlled. As we said, they seem to have their own entity for itself. It is strange that most people have never even given thought to their thoughts. The first step in mastering meditation is learning how to not take our thoughts for granted. What a dreadful affliction it is to be unable to stop thinking. But the sad truth is that most of us are compulsive thinkers. We're really compulsive thinkers. And because we are bombarded constantly by our own mental chatter, we don't even realize how handicapped our compulsive thoughts make us. In fact, we consider that state to be totally normal. Now let's think about this. In our normal state of being, can you actually stop yourself from thinking? We just have constantly, our thoughts are moving from one thought to the other thought to the other thought to the other thoughts. This constant state of thinking doesn't allow you to reach that crucial state of inner stillness that is crucial in order to access the vitality of your soul, your neshama, the place where your true normal lies. And that's where really we want to get through. Once we get to that place called the neshama, or that connection to the neshama, that's where you become a new person. Instead of being controlled by the constant bombardment of the thoughts, a person will start now accessing new levels of creativity, new levels of insights, and new levels of realities, as we'll see. Being connected means being at peace, because in this state all conflict is resolved. Imagine a life without any conflict. It is definitely achievable. Let us set this type of life as an objective. Have patience with yourselves and with the process, as together, step by step, we learn to make this our new normal states. We can do this. It takes a little bit of time. It doesn't happen overnight. To transform anything, especially ourselves, is not going to happen overnight. But with a little bit of patience and perseverance, we can definitely completely change your life. Let us view our minds as nothing more than a tool that we can employ when we deem it useful. It is there to assist you with specific tasks, and when each task is completed, you lay it down. In most cases, some 80% of people's thinking is repetitive and useless, often negative and dysfunctional. And we know that. We cause our own suffering, and most of our problems, I'm not saying all of our problems, are just caused because our mental state of mind is not what it's supposed to be. We know when everything's going well, we feel good. And when everything is not going well, we start complaining of our aches and pains and headaches and backaches and so on and so forth. But if we were to have control over the mind, our lives would be completely different. So we have to view our minds, I should say, as a tool to be used properly and not in a negative state. And that's what we're going to be learning. These obsessive thoughts drain one's vital life energy, and the consequences can lead to both emotional, mental, and physical mental health. This kind of compulsive thinking is actually an addiction. An addiction is simply an activity you feel you no longer able to choose to stop. It seems that it is stronger than you. And we feel that. Many times we feel so caught up in our thoughts, we just want to take a vacation from our thoughts. We just want it to stop, but we don't know how to stop the stream of mental chatter. Another characteristic of addiction is that it gives you a false sense of pleasure that inevitably turns into pain. Because we become addictive to our thoughts, we feel that we'll find pleasure in, for example, delving into the past. Let's get away from the present and let's float into la la land, into our past. But we know that doesn't help, because when you come back to reality after you're daydreaming, you know that things haven't changed. So really, you haven't gained anything from that. Breaking the addiction should be one of your life's goals, because if you can have a handle on this and master your thoughts, you become a master of your life.
It means that we can become anything and do anything in our lives that we want to do. But what's stopping us? 99% of the times it's ourselves. It's not our resources, it's not who we are, it's who we think we are. And it's what we think we cannot do with our lives because we think we don't have enough resources. But most times it's not because we don't have resources we can't do what we want. It's because we're not resourceful enough to get those resources. Again, it's all up to your minds. Now, it will build, if we rely on our minds to control our lives, it builds a smoke screen. And it forms dense layers between us and other people. We start forming definitions, labels, images, concepts, and judgments about people and things, which limit our abilities to see right through things intuitively. We're talking about things which are dampening our spiritual capabilities, our superpowers, our intuition. It hampers our relationships with our fellow man, women, our relationship with Hashem, our relationship with ourselves. We are not the same people. Now, recognizing the essential truth that there are actually nothing that separates you from everything that is. If only we could peel away the layers of physical appearance and separate form, we would see the magnificent, I lost the word. The magnitude of life is. How we focus on details, but really how we'll start seeing the unity of life, the beauty, the powerful, the self-evident oneness of creation. That's what I mean by being connection with the entire life. Now we'll see how we get connected to this unity in a minute. But first we have to peel away those layers. And then we start seeing the hidden parts of the world, the hidden parts of people, till we get to the Creator himself. Now we melt away the obsessive, unrelenting daily conflict that we experience within, without, which is caused by what? Again, the thinking mind, which takes away our ability of being spiritual. Because at the end of the day, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, we are enslaved to our thoughts. Now, we never really thought about it, being enslaved to the thoughts. But that's what it comes down to be. Because if you don't have control over your thoughts, then you are really a slave to your thoughts. Is that correctable? Yes, we'll find out a system how to correct that. And by that, opening an entire new world of intuition, psychic powers, whatever you want. But this is the key. Now, if it is used correctly, the mind is a marvelous tool. I'm not saying that the mind is useless, not at all. I'm saying a mind is like a tool. You got to know when to use it and when to put it down. We speak of using the mind incorrectly, but it's not altogether inaccurate, what I'm saying. What I mean to say is that if you're not using your mind correctly, the mind is using you. And that's what you don't want. That's when you're losing your ownership of yourself. It may seem like you are in control, and it may even believe that you are your mind, but this is merely an illusion. What is really happening is that your mind, which should be just a tool for you to use at will, has taken you over. And in this case, an extreme imbalance, and therefore lies the disease. Now, it might sound like I'm overreacting, but not at all. If you think, and we'll do some exercises to prove this, how sometimes your mind can drive you crazy into depression, into anxiety, into anger. And when you think about the situations afterwards, and you think to yourself, why did I become angry? Why did I become depressed? Why did I yell at that person? That's because you lost control of yourself to your mind. Ask yourself this. Are you able to free yourself from your mind's control whenever you choose? Number one. Number two, ask yourself this. Can you simply turn off your mind if that is what you decide to do? Number three, do you even know how to find the off button? Ask yourself those three questions. Now, if the answer is no, 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 then you can be fairly certain that your mind is in charge of you and not the other way around. And your mind is using you. Now, this might be a new concept for people. The mind using you and you are not using your mind. But just hear me out, because this is going to open up a whole new world. In that case, you have so thoroughly identified yourself with your mind that you aren't even aware that your mind is enslaving you. It's as if your mind has possessed you to such an extent that you believe that you're your mind. The realization is half the battle. If you can recognize that the mind is that powerful, that it can convince yourself of things that you shouldn't really be convinced of, then that's a first step towards a life of attachment to your innermost being, leading you to an attachment to Hashem, which is the ultimate purpose here, to elevate ourselves, especially when we're coming to the close of this phase of life, coming to Olam Haba, the next world, the next transition, where we have to prepare for this. When you can understand that you are not the thinker, then you can take the next step and gain an objective view of your mind and of your life and how to direct it. Now, we're going to do a little example, a little exercise over here with everybody. Now, I want everybody to close their eyes and try not to think of one thought for 1 minute. Okay? And then I want to hear a bit of feedback from everyone. So please close your eyes, and I'll tell you when it's time. And do your best not to think of any thoughts. Okay. Now we'll unmute everyone, and I want to hear truthfully, were you able to really not think of any thoughts? Ira, do you mind?
Yes.
Okay. Who wants to be first?
So
Deborah?
I had about 30 seconds of clear time. The rest of it, it was like I would get a thought and I would just try to like relax my mind. But truly about 30 seconds, I did have,
That's very good. Thank you. Ariel,
You keep on muting me. Yeah,
all right,
hello?
go ahead, Ariel.
Hello?
Ariel, go ahead. Tell us your experience.
Yes, yes. I was able to do it for the full minute. For the whole minute, I was able to do it.
Wow, that's extraordinary. Okay, thank you. Who's next? Sarah?
Rabbi,
For the most
Oh,
part,
Jackie.
for the most part.
yeah, Rabbi. So, when I closed my eyes, I pulled over, especially, but when I closed my eyes for at least 30 seconds, I had no thoughts, no thought at all. But what I did have a thought is the ticking noise of my car in hazard mode. So I said, is that a thought? Are the birds a thought? So that is thinking too deeply, maybe.
Okay, well, that's wonderful. That's really,
Yeah.
really talented. Okay. Anyone else?
I had lots of thoughts, never no thoughts for not a moment. Everything was just, everything is a thought, just
Everything is
even
thought. And even if you think of not thinking, that's a thought as well. Good. Anybody else?
Hi, I had like 2 seconds, maybe.
Okay, you're honest. Good. It's not an easy thing. It needs training. Wonderful. Fran?
No, I right away was thinking no thought, and that's a thought. So
Exactly. No thought is a thought. Anything that you're hearing, a buzz or something, that's going to be a thought, right? Dana? I hope I'm pronouncing that all right.
Yes, how are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Okay, I think I learned it's a 50,000 thoughts a day we have, but how we blank our thoughts, that is in meditation. We have to train our mind not to think of things, because the more you think, it drive you crazy.
Oh, that's for sure. Yes, 100%.
Yes, 50,000 thoughts a day.
Wow. Okay, thank you very much.
1 minute, we have 60 seconds. So you just multiply, which is a lot.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Libby. Hi, this is Libby.
Libby? Okay, hi, Libby.
Yeah, hi. I couldn't stop thinking, and then I was thinking what I was going to say, and it's just, and I know as soon as I started talking, my mind, I am my mind. That's all I am. I suffer from insomnia, all kinds of stuff, but then I'm thinking, what am I going to say? But when I started to say, I'm just going to think about taking a deep breath, I could concentrate on my breathing, but I'm still thinking because I'm thinking about my breathing. So I get 150,000 thoughts a day, not 50.
That's it. We're going to work on that because this is the entrance.
Good luck.
Okay, so you see that it's not at all simple just to say, I'm going to stop thinking, enter the spiritual realm, and become a prophet. We're going to see, you've seen yourself that it's not an easy job. So it needs a little bit of a training. Now, I want to switch gears here. Now, we hear there is an understanding that if you hear voices in your head, you're going crazy. That used to be the thought of people, but the understanding of people. But what we have to understand is that people hear voices in their head are very, very normal. And those mentally ill people that we thought they're mentally ill and they hear voices, there's really not much difference between them and us, except what? These mentally ill people, you'll see them in the streets verbalizing their thoughts as they're walking and they look to us and we look at them as if they're crazy. What are they talking? They're talking in the streets, verbalizing their thoughts. But let me ask you, is there really any big difference between them and us? Because if you analyze your thoughts and how we just heard from a lot of people, they weren't able to control the thoughts, and the thoughts are talking to them all the time. Really, there is no difference between these so-called mentally ill people and these so-called normal people, if you think about it. Isn't that interesting? Because the voices in our heads are constantly commentating, speculating, judging, comparing, complaining, liking, disliking. It's crazy what's happening to our minds, constantly talking to us. It shouldn't be that way. What is unique about those we consider to be mentally ill is that they do this aloud, but we just do this quietly. Now that should be a difference. Often enough, it imagines things to go wrong. Our thoughts project on us negative things, negative outcomes. And usually things are going right, things are going good, and we just complicate things, which is what we call worry. We start worrying. And once you start getting into that stage of worrying, then you get into a stage of illness. Either it's mental, emotional, or physical illness. And the mind may strengthen and intensify these thoughts by turning up the volume, adding visual images and adding mental movies to the mix. But don't we need this voice in our heads, you might argue, and say, no, I need that to direct me, to tell me what to do in life. It's true. There's an argument that says we need that. But when it gets out of hand and when it affects your health, it affects your emotions, and you start feeling depressed and overburdened, then you know you're overdoing it. Your obsessive thinking has taken life over. Even if this voice we hear is relevant, in all likelihood is interpreted in a situation in own biases by the way of relating it to the past. We all tend to view the present in the eyes of the past. And that is how we judge almost anything in our lives, by viewing things in the past, which doesn't always help us. It's not always in our benefit. The voice in our head might be the very most enemy that we're running away from. We might look at other people as our enemy, but really, we are constantly torturing ourselves by overdoing it in our minds. So to have these professional tormentor in my mind, and we have to know and learn now how to control that. Because we know it drains a person. So it shackles. And we're going to learn very soon strategies on how to take that over. And the first strategy I want to present to you is called the Watcher of the Mind. Has anybody heard of this concept called the Watcher of the Mind? You can raise up your hand, your virtual hand. What does it mean by the Watcher of the Mind? Anybody knows? Nobody's heard of this concept? Well, I'll tell you in a second. The Watcher of the Mind means to be the witnessing presence, as an impartial listener to the voice in your head. Now, this is very, very powerful, because you want to make a difference between who you are and what you're hearing. You want to make a clear difference. And once you get that deep, deep notion, your whole life changes. The thoughts that are torturing you all of a sudden loses power over your life, and you become a completely new person, a totally new person. So the next exercise that we're going to do over here is called metacognition. Has anybody heard of this scientific terminology called metacognition? No? What it basically means is like this. Cognition means the process of thinking and reasoning. Metacognition means is thinking of one's own thoughts. So let's do this example now. I want you to close your eyes now. Close your
No, you have to unmute yourself. I'm sorry.
Right, I got it. So what I want you to close your eyes at this point. And when you close your eyes, I don't want you to fight with your thoughts. All I want you to do is to watch your thoughts. Now, I don't want you to engage in your thoughts. I want you to just be the observer of what your thoughts are. Are they telling you that this person who's speaking is too loud, or I need to go now, or I have an appointment, or I got to fix my washing machine, or you're thinking about learning, you're thinking about leaving, you're thinking about traveling, you're thinking about the corona. I want you to write down mentally in your mind what you're seeing, what you're hearing. I'll give you 1 minute to do that. Okay, now we're going to go through a little bit of feedback and hear exactly how did that go. Reuven. Okay, Reuven, you want to share your experience?
Yeah, I felt like it was less of a fight. Don't think. And it just kind of flowed. So I was able to, bounce from one thought to another. But I also noticed more senses. Like I was thinking more of like the smoothness of the table, with what I'm sitting on, like different things I'm touching, I guess.
Okay, good. Ira, you want to share your thoughts?
Yes. So I try to always focus on breathing. And I also noticed my headache, and also the feelings of different parts of my body and like certain pain and things like that. And then I started thinking, oh boy, I have to do stuff for this. I have to meet people later and things like that.
Okay, but you were able to step back. I need you to step back and look at the thoughts as if it's a third party. The thoughts are not you. You want to have a third party view of there's me watching my thoughts.
No.
Okay. Fran, how was your experience?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. I'm able to do it sometimes, but this time I was actually feeling how tired I was feeling, and I wasn't able to distance myself from it. I was just like, oh man, I'm really tired. So I was seeing it, but not really seeing it. I was kind of in the middle of it more than seeing it, witnessing it.
Okay, okay. It's a work in progress. Dana, you want to share your experience? Is this working? I don't know. Jeez.
I'll share. You want me to share?
Yeah, who's that?
Deborah?
Deborah, go ahead.
So I was fully able to do that the entire time.
Wonderful.
It was very easy.
Good, good. Who else wants to share? Solomon?
Me? Oh. Hello?
Yeah. Ira? Okay.
No.
Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, me. It's Ariel. Well, for some reason, I didn't get a single thought crossing my mind at all, so I failed at this experiment.
Okay. Who's next? Who wants to share? We want to hear from everybody from the group. Solomon?
Yes. So I felt very much like what Ruben said. It was less of a fight like last time. I was less thinking about not thinking, but as the rabbi said, just observing, and that definitely was more flowy. And I noticed, oh, I'm watching a thought. That was a thought, and oh, now I'm watching it. And
Good. Very good. Excellent. That's what we want to get to.
And,
observing your thoughts.
Yeah. Then getting lost a bit, and then oh, that's thinking, and a lot of
Good. Good. That's excellent. That's excellent. Cindy. Cindy, you want to share with us your experience? I don't know if she's. Can you hear me, Cindy?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you very much.
I wasn't really able to do this because I signed on kind of late and I'm in the middle of doing some other things, but I think it's a good exercise.
Okay, try it at home when you have some time. Just take a minute. You don't have to be a long time. And try to come to the point where you're looking at your thoughts. You're not engaging in your thought. You'll see it's going to change your life. It really will. Who's next? We didn't hear.
Rabbi.
Jackie. Go ahead, Jackie.
Yeah, I missed the experiment because I had to go from my car to my home. But how do you look at your thoughts if when you close your eyes it's black, it's dark? How do you look? There's nothing to see.
There's nothing to see? Okay, so I want you to close your eyes, and everybody can do this. I want everybody to close their eyes.
Okay.
And I want you to imagine your bedroom.
Okay.
I want you to see everything in your bedroom. I want you to see your bed. I want you to see the color of your carpet or the tiles. I want you to now, with your eyes closed, to look up and look at the lights in your bedroom. Okay?
I see everything.
You see everything. Now open your eyes. Now, I just proved to you that you can see with your eyes closed.
So wait, Rabbi, can I cut in for a sec?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
You ever have people have had moments when they wake up in their sleep and they're almost in a state of paralysis, like where they're paralyzed, they can't move, and they think they're awake. I've had those situations. So it's funny because I wake up and I'm like in the real world. So it's like exactly what you're saying.
That's a phenomena. Yeah, that's very advanced. Okay,
Yeah.
but right now we're taking baby steps now. We want to see,
Right.
we want to be able to control the mechanism which rules our life by doing this very simple exercise, metacognition, which means looking at your thoughts. Because once you can look at your thoughts, then you'll be able to control your thoughts. Did everybody, Sarah, did we hear from Sarah? Would you like to share? Oh, she can hear me or not.
Yeah, I was able to see, I wasn't really able to see much because my mind was drawing blank.
Okay, but you know, you can think even though you're not seeing.
I wasn't able to think at all, like it was drawing blank.
Okay, but even thinking of blank is a thought, right?
If I force myself to think of something, I'm pretty sure all the thoughts will start going into my head. But at that moment, it was drawing blank.
Okay, okay, very good. Dana, did we hear from Dana yet? Okay, Dana, you want to share your experience?
I've been, yeah, I can observe the sensation, you know, of the thought, you hate, you love, you know, as it is, you know, we learn.
Right, you sound like a professional, Dana. All right, all right.
I'm doing many years.
Right, I can tell. Okay. Fran, did we hear from Fran yet?
I'm sorry, I couldn't find my buttons there. Yeah, I think I already said that. I was partly witnessing and partly not, that I was tired.
Right, okay. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else that we left out? Melita, Scott?
Libby. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine, yeah.
Hi, this is Libby. It was it's a lot better this time. I slowed down, but when I tried to differentiate between my thoughts and watching them, what I did was I started listing all the things I've been thinking about the last few days, the worrisome things. It became like a list, but it wasn't like I was watching them. It helped. It helped a lot, but it's still. And then I stopped myself and said, well, I'm supposed to be watching my thoughts. And then I started listing the thoughts instead of watching them. I don't know if that's what you wanted.
Okay, no, what we wanted to, baby steps, we wanted to watch the thoughts. The next step would be to decide whether you want to engage in the thought or not. Okay, so that's important to understand that difference. But right now, the exercise was just to watch and see whether you could do that, whether you could watch your thoughts. So,
Rabbi.
Yeah, Jackie.
On Har Sinai, we actually heard and saw the thoughts of Hashem.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
So true. Yeah.
Just wanted to say that.
Beautiful. Meleta, you have your hand raised. Would you like to, Meleta Scott? She has her hand raised. Okay. And Cindy, we heard from. So anybody else? Okay. So we're going to move on now. So you see that the mind is not so easy. You know, those who don't have experience, I see a lot of you have experience and know how to do this. But those who don't have experience and to control your thoughts is like, oh, wow, I never thought I can control my thought, because the thoughts just come into the head. So let me ask you, how are you going to sit in meditation? How are you going to sit in, Melita, you wanted to say something?
Oh, can you hear?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes.
I didn't know how to unmute myself. When I did the exercise,
yeah,
I saw like about 10 or 15 things that is on my mind that I need to get done like yesterday.
Right.
It was like I trying to do this, trying to do that. And I have a habit of doing that, you know, trying to do 2, 3 things, multitasking. And at that moment, it was like I was seeing myself speed up doing so many different things that I realized, I was actually almost cartoonish, you know, running here, running there, doing this, doing that, writing this, stopping, cooking this. It was crazy. And so that's when I realized I really do need to slow down.
Okay, but were you able to perceive that you are not your thoughts and to look at your thoughts like somebody exterior to yourself?
Yeah, it was like I stepped back and I could see myself trying to do all the things that's on my mind to get done.
Okay, good. That's
You know,
definitely a step forward.
Computer to cooking. That's how I saw it.
Excellent. Okay, so let's move on to the next screen. Now, again, the benefit of this is enormous, because what's going to happen once you're able to look at your thoughts, you're able to control them. And once you're able to control them, then you're really in the control of yourself. Now let's dive a little bit deeper into this. So what do I mean that your metacognition, there's a metacognition happening? That means you're looking at your thoughts. Now you have to know a lot of psychologists use this in their therapies because it's very, very powerful. Because when you feel yourself getting overwhelmed with things around you or with people around you, you have to understand that there's nothing there but your thoughts interfering in your life. And if you're able to turn that off or to look back at it and say, those thoughts are coming to disturb my inner stillness, and say to those thoughts, not right now. Later, I'm going to compartmentalize things. That is for later on. That is for later on. Don't make me, as if you're talking to your thoughts. That's why we talked about voices in your head. You have to talk back to your thoughts and say, not right now. Don't make me angry right now. Or don't make me stressed out right now. Right now, my thoughts are trying to stress me. I will not engage with that thoughts. So it's not that a lot of people feel angry because they were caused to be angry. For example, somebody, Chaz v'shalom, would hit your car, or somebody bumps into you, accidentally or not accidentally. Your first reaction is you get a thought in your mind to be angry. And you think, well, that's it, I'm going to be angry. I have no choice in the matter. The guy hit me, or he hit my car. Well, what we're learning today is, no, you do have the choice. You have the choice to stop that thought before you engage in that thought. Because once you engage in that thought and say, oh, I have a thought, that thought is telling me to get angry. Once I explore that thought, that's it, I'm done. I have no choice but to become angry. But if I put the stop on and I see that thought coming towards me, which I'm not the thought, and I stop and I say, wait, you angry thought, before you try to possess me to become angry, depressed, or whatever, I'm going to stop you there. And as you stop it, it loses its power over you and disintegrates like a cloud. That's why I imagine thoughts as little clouds. And you can put your hand through a cloud, but if you don't disperse the clouds, it just comes over you, clouds your vision. That's where the expression comes, clouds your vision. So that's what we have to understand this. And that's what we want to teach. So before we get to the level of these high mystical experiences, before we get into these deep meditations, where we have to understand that if you are not in control of your thoughts, it's not going to work for you, unfortunately. Your success in meditation, from moving from one dimension to another dimension, is not going to happen. And even if it does happen, it's going to be for a limited amount of time. You could be very successful one day, but not able to have entry into the next dimension the next day. Well, that's not the way you want to do it. You want to have this on your fingertips to be able to go in and out at will. But again, It's all going to be dependent on your power of control of the thoughts. So that's what I'm going to leave with you. And we'll stop it here. And I just want to hear if there's anybody has any questions about what we've said so far, any
Rabbi?
comments. And with that, we'll give it a close.
Hello, Rabbi?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it possible if we could get these PowerPoints sent to us somehow?
Yeah, sure. Sure, that's not a problem.
And how do I have you send it to me?
So does Ira's our host. If you send him your email, he'll send you a copy of everything that we have.
I'll put my email into the chat, and you can just send it to that email. I'll put you on the list, and you'll get whatever we send out. Okay?
I can't hear. I couldn't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Barely. Can I text you privately with my email?
Well, no. I'll give you my email, and you can just send an email to my email account, and I'll put you into the list.
Okay.
And I'm putting it there now.
Very good idea. Ira will post his email in the chat, and anybody who wants a copy of these points. Did we video the class today, Ira?
Well, after Ruben reminded me we did, about 18 minutes in, I'm afraid.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that.
Not a problem. I forgot about it myself. So,
did everyone see my email address in the chat? ihistler@live.com.
So we'll thank everybody for joining us. So any last comments, questions?
I do have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
With respect to pain, for instance. I find it's much harder to sort of abstract yourself from pain. It depends on the intensity of the pain, of course. But, you know, lesser pain perhaps, but as it gets more and more intense, it's much more difficult. Now, I don't know if that's considered a thought. With what category do you put things like that?
No, it is definitely an experience. It's an experience which creates a thought. It's no different that if you had a situation on your hand, like an accident or whatnot. What's important to understand is that things will happen to you. The question is how are you going to react to them? That's the only question. Whatever happens to you will happen to you. A headache, an accident, or whatever the situation, or something great, you win the lottery. Good or bad, it makes no difference. The question is, are you going to get involved in the thought to the point where you lose your self-control? Where the thought becomes so great that you're no longer able to keep control of yourself. And therefore, you come into situations of depressions, you know, self-sabotage, negative thoughts, all those negativities. That has nothing to do with the headache. The headache has no feeling. A headache is a pain. A pain does not have an emotion attached to it. But if you apply now an emotion attached to the situation, that's you engaging in a thought which has nothing to do with the situation. That makes sense?
I think so.
Right. Solomon, you had?
Yes, I had a question. I just wanted to clarify, the rabbi said in the beginning of the class that being in peace is when all conflict is resolved. So I just want to clarify what that means. I think I understand a little more, but I just want to clarify if that's what the rabbi meant by conflict. What does conflict mean? Like, is that the thoughts in our mind? What exactly is that conflict? And what does it mean to be resolved?
Conflict means any emotional attachment. That's what it means. We'll have situations which are conflicting. That's fine. For example, you have to go to two places at the same time. That's a conflicting situation. Can you be in two places at one time? No. Do you have a problem? No. You don't have a problem. You have a situation to solve. Where do you want to go? The problem is, though, is that when you attach emotional feelings to this conflict, that magnifies the problem. So, for example, you start stressing out. That's nothing to do with your basic problem of where to go. Should I go to A or B? If you start, becoming angry and adding emotion to the situation, adding layer to layer, you're allowing the thoughts to be, you're allowing yourself to engage in the thought, which is making things complicated, adding complexity to situations. But if you're able to stand back and say, okay, I have a situation. I have to be here or there. Okay, why get stressed out? Will that help the situation? No. So I might as well just choose without adding all the added emotion, without making complexity to the situation. That's what I meant.
Also, so being resolved, meaning not attaching our emotion to that situation.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, wonderful. Well, I think we had a very productive class. I think we learned quite a bit over here. Those who did not know this concept before, being the watch of the mind and not allowing the thoughts to impress upon you or sway you anyway, then you just became a better person. And this really can help you as in life in general, besides taking this to the new level of meditation and intuition and psychic experiences. So wishing you all the best. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you next week. B'ezrat Hashem.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.